Hey everyone, welcome to my stream. I'm Sarah and today we're going to be doing crochet. I had to restart, so I'm going to be going over everything again as if this is my very first stream for today. So welcome, thank you for joining, and hi Crixano. I'm glad, thank you for all your help in figuring out that there was something wrong, something amiss about my stream. So I'm just going to start over. First, what I've got for a little show and tell is I showed this on my very first stream, but this is something, it's like a water bottle holder for like when I go running or walking. And I just made this up, but it uses the double crochet stitch, which is what we're going to be using today. We're going to be learning the double crochet. So I just wanted to show you, this is the single crochet. And this is 1, 2, 3 right here, 3 stitches worth. And if you look, oops. So like the black right here is 1 double crochet. A double crochet is actually equal to 3 single crochets. So here's why double crochet is really fast, because, and actually the fastest stitch. It's basically the same movements as the single crochet, so it doesn't take you really that much longer, but it gives you 3 times the length. So you can actually move through, like if you were making a scarf or something like that, you can move through very, very quickly. So I wanted to show you that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what I've got here. I'm going to be still using my worsted weight yarn. That is your medium weight, size 4, which just to remind you guys, if you're looking in the store, and let's see where it is on this one. I don't see it on this one, of course, but normally there's like a little, it looks like yarn, like it looks like an actual ball of yarn with a number 4 in it. And that's normally on the label somewhere. So who knows why it's not on this label. But anyway, I think this is specialty yarn. So that's probably why. I've got 3 hooks. I've got a size 6 millimeter, a size 5 millimeter, and a size 4 millimeter. And the reason I have 3 different sizes, I'm going to use the 6 millimeter to create my foundation chain, which I highly recommend for all beginner crocheters, because your tension is probably going to be pretty tight, and this actually helps a lot. The foundation chain is probably one of the most frustrating parts of crochet. So if you can make it a little less frustrating, I highly recommend that. So go 1 size, well, technically 2 sizes bigger, because it's a whole millimeter. This is what we'll be crocheting with. This is size 5 millimeter, also known as an H in the United States, is the standard size for worsted weight. You know, for this basically normal yarn that you find at wherever, Walmart, your local craft store. This is worsted weight. So we'll be using that. And then I have a size 4 millimeter, which is going to be for weaving in our ends at the very end. Like when we're done, we don't want our tails hanging out, so we'll weave those in. Okay, so starting with our 6 millimeter, we're gonna get the end of our yarn here. I went ahead and pulled out a bunch of it earlier because you always want to have some slack, but you don't need this much slack normally. The reason I have this much is because this was for some reason giving me problems last time trying to pull it out, and I didn't want to be working on stream trying to make that work. So I have preempted by pulling some out. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our slip knot. So we're going to take our yarn and just cross it, like just make a little, just flip it, switch it around and twist it and make a little loop here. Whichever side is on top, so it looks like it's going to be my tail yarn, make like a little loop, and then you're going to put it through the bottom. You're going to go underneath that and pull tight. So you grab both your tail and your working yarn and pull tight. Okay, so now we can actually pull that a little bit tighter. And just to show you, so you've got the hook narrows at one end. You want to pull this tight around the fat part of it. That way it gives you plenty of room. Okay, so now we're going to create our foundation chain. So I'm going to take, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be putting my hook into my right hand with my tail along the side of my hook to keep it out of the way. I'm going to be putting my thumb on the stitch itself, and that helps keep it in place. In my left hand, I'm going to be putting the yarn, same 3 fingers, like that, and that creates tension, but I can also loosen it if I need to and pull. And then I'm going to also be trading pinches here. So I'm either pinching with that side or pinching with this side. Okay, so foundation chain. We're going to do a yarn over, which means coming from behind, yarn over. Now we should have 2 on there. So I'm going to trade pinches, which means that I'm going to pinch the bottom here, which gives it a little bit of tension and holds it in place. And then you're just going to pull the loop right through that. This is your foundation chain. So we'll do that again. Yarn over, trade pinches, pull it through. And I'm going to pinch it again with my thumb. Yarn over, trade pinches, pull it through. Yarn over, trade pinches, pull it through. And that's it. So then we create this little foundation chain. All right, so let's go ahead and get a size that we like. I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. Now, at some point, you're going to want to let go of your tail once it's out of the way. Okay, so let's say that we want, let's say we want this to be about 6 inches. Now I don't have a cloth measuring tape, but I am going to use a ruler that I happen to have here with my art supplies. So I'm going to measure. So right now it's at about 5 inches. So I'm going to keep going a couple more times. So I'm going to make my scarf 6 inches. So I'm just showing you guys what that will look like. Oh, 5.5. Well, that was 3 for 5.5. So I'll do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. All right, look at that, 6 inches. Okay, and you don't want to stretch it. You want to just like let it sit there. So it's right at 6 inches. Here's the thing. So remember in our single crochet, I have you go to the size that you want and then go 1 more. Well, double crochet is 3 times the size of single crochet. So in this one, we're going to go 3 more. Just so you know, the one in the middle is called a half double crochet. I'm not showing you that yet. To me, that is a more advanced stitch, believe it or not. So we're skipping from single to double. We're not doing the middle one. So you're going to do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Then what we're going to do is we're going to be going into, instead of going into the second hole, so normally we would skip this first one and go into the second one. We're not going to do that today. We're going to actually go into the 4th hole. So 1, 2, 3, and I see you hiding there. I think that's where I stopped. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, here is where it's different. So normally with the single crochet, we just go in and start doing the crochet. This time we're going to yarn over before we start. So we're starting with 2 loops on our hook. So 2 loops. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and you know what I just realized, guys? I forgot to trade out. Hold on. Let's trade out for the 5. Sorry about that. I was using the 6 so that I got a nice even and not very tight tail here. Foundation row. All right, so I've yarned over. I've got 2 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go through. Now, yarn over again, just like you would your single crochet, and pull through. This time, instead of pulling through all of the loops, we've got 3. We're going to just pull through the first 2. So we pull through the first 2, yarn over again, and then pull through the next 2. Okay, so yarn over, go through the next hole, yarn over again, and pull through. So now we've got 3 on there. Yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the next 2. Yarn over, go through the next hole, pull that yarn through. So now we've got 3 loops. Yarn over again, pull through just the first 2, yarn over and pull through the next 2. And I'm going to show you the stitch that it's making. So look how tall that is in comparison to this one. Three times the height. All right, so we're just going to keep going. So yarn over, go through the next hole, pull through, yarn over again, pull through 2, yarn over again, pull through the other 2. And this is it. And we'll just go all the way across. So it's pretty close to the single crochet. The main difference is that because you're yarning over at the very beginning, it's giving you essentially 2 loops on there. So what happens is that you have to pull through twice. Now if you were to pull through all 3 of the loops, that would be a half double crochet. So really, it's not that it's terribly complicated, it's just that it's more work to do a half double crochet. So that's why I'm not showing that to you guys yet. We'll do something with a half double crochet later, because there are some interesting things you can do with the different sizes of stitches. Sorry, my yarn got caught there, and so I wasn't able to talk because I was trying to get it untangled there. The problem with wool is excellent as far as quality. But the problem when you're crocheting or knitting with wool is that sometimes it can be a little finicky, the yarn can. And it can start pulling apart on you, or you know, your needle or hook goes through the middle of the yarn. You don't want that. Now I'm going to show you guys that this is actually starting to curl a little at the end. If you're just joining, welcome to the stream. We are doing a double crochet. So just to reiterate, so far, if you have watched my single crochet streams, this is just like the single crochet. You do your foundation chain exactly the same, but instead of adding 1 at the end, you add 3. And instead of skipping the first chain and going into chain 2, you skip the first 3 chains and go into chain 4. That's really the only difference for the foundation chain. Now, if you are just joining, I'm going to be showing the double crochet stitch in the next round, so you'll get to see the difference between the double crochet and the single crochet. You'll probably notice that I'm looping over first, which I wasn't doing with the single crochet. See, I yarn over where I have 2 on there. Okay, so this was my last one. All right, see how it's curling? That's okay, because that's going to actually work itself out. But look how beautiful that is. I love double crochet. So this is the single crochet. And this is the first line right here. The first row. Let's see if I have a piece of paper here. I have a little Amazon gift receipt. So you can see that this is triple the size, but it took me about the same amount of time. That's why double crochet is so much faster. Okay, so now when we were turning before, we had to do a single foundation, a single chain stitch, and that helped us turn. Well, we're going to do the same thing, except for because it's a double crochet, we're going to actually do 3 instead of 1. So 1, 2, 3. And this is going to actually act as a double crochet. So now we can turn it. Okay. All right. So the double crochet, you start by yarning over. So instead of just going right into the hole, you actually yarn over first. Now, here's the difference with double crochet versus single crochet. Single crochet, you go ahead and go into that first hole. But with double crochet, this actually acts as a double crochet. So we're going to skip this first hole and go into the second hole. So just to hold that up close so you can see it. There's that first hole there. We're going to skip it and go into that second hole. You pull it through. Now I've got 3 on there. So here's where it's really different from single crochet. You yarn over, you pull through just 2 of those. Now I've got 2 on there. You yarn over, oops, and pull through the other 2. So you're pulling through twice, and see how it gives you so much more height because of that. So yarn over, go into the next hole, pull your yarn through. I've got 3 on there, so yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. All right, so next hole, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over again, pull through the next 2. You can see what it's doing here. Yarn over, go through the next hole. That's it. Just keep going. So something that I did this morning, oops, and I messed up. But the good thing about crochet, unlike knitting, crochet you can pull out very easily. You just pull out and start over. So today I came to a decision yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago. I redid my schedule for the month because I'm no longer in school for the semester. And since I have a bit more free time on my hands right now, I am taking to learning Python programming language. Very excited about that. And I'm also reinvigorating my Spanish learning. I'm going to start with immersion by watching Spanish TV shows. Now, I know if you think Spanish TV shows, you're probably thinking telenovelas. The good thing about telenovelas is that you can really tell what's going on because they're kind of like live action animes almost, in that like everything is just so dramatic, right? The problem with telenovelas is that they're almost all about romance. And let me tell you, Sarah is not a fan of romance. I'm a fan of romance in real life. I'm not a fan of watching or reading romance. So, yeah. Romance on TV is a little bit overwhelming for me. It's just, it makes me a little nauseated. So, you know. Anyway, the point was, so now I'm going to be learning Spanish. I'm going to be learning Python. So 2 languages, a natural language and a coding language. And then I am packing all of my stuff, or repacking rather. I'm trying to get rid of things. I own too many things, as we all probably do. And I would like to kind of go more minimalist. So I'm going to be getting rid of, my general rule is about 75% of my stuff. So it's quite a bit to go through. But this is all in the hopes that I will be moving very soon. As soon as all this nonsense lifts, I hope to be moving to the Pacific Northwest. Very excited about this. It's been calling my name for several years now, and I'm finally in a place where I can do it. So, Crixano says, cool, Python is often recommended as a first programming language by many people, I think. Yes, and in fact it was. I already had been thinking about Python because of the way it's written. I think it's more familiar. It's written more like a natural language, I think. So I had already been thinking that, but then it was confirmed by several of my programming buddies. It was confirmed that it is a very good language to start off with. And it's high level. You know, I really want to learn low level. That's my goal. I want to learn C. But I think that this is a good in between. I'm waiting. I am a part of Casey Muratori's C class, his beta course, I guess. And it has not rolled out to me yet. So I thought in the meantime, I would go ahead and learn Python. So I got a book. I've got a video that a friend lent to me to watch. So I'm going to be watching that. But I also have a book by Zed Shaw called, I think it's Learning to Program Python 3 the Hard Way. And I did not like the first chapter, but Learn Python the Hard Way. There we go. Yeah. I didn't like the first chapter. It was very frustrating, but I'm actually enjoying it now. I'm on, I guess it would be chapter 4. It's technically exercise 3. But I'm actually enjoying it now. So, okay. So I'm at the end of my row. So look, I've done 2 rows. This one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which makes sense because this is 3 times. I've done 2 rows. This is 6. Look at that. And this took me considerably more time. This is really fast. Now, it is more open, you know, so if you look at it, let me just pull this up. If you look at it, there it is a little more holy. Now, this isn't normally a problem. For something like a scarf, that's not going to matter too much. If you look at this is much tighter weave. Now, the only reason this is open at all is because we were skipping weaves last week. But at the beginning, you can see it's much closer together. So that is the main difference, is this is more spread apart. So if you're using something small, like say I've got this very small yarn here, like look at the comparison. I've got this very small yarn here. That a double crochet would be very good for something like this, because then it's going to look more lacy, because you'll actually be able to see some of the holes. But if you want this to be tighter, all you have to do is go down a size. So like I would maybe go down to a 4 and crochet with that, and that would actually tighten it up a little bit. But let's keep going. And I'm just going to keep chatting to you about my move. So remember, we chained 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I was doing Python at Code Academy, but I got very frustrated with it because it wasn't explaining the why, and I am the kind of person that likes the why of things. Skip the first hole. Oops. Oh no, I did yarn over. Huh. I was getting ahead of myself. My brain naturally wants to double crochet. It's my favorite stitch. But yeah, it wasn't explaining the why of things. It was just saying, here, learn to do this, do this. It was telling me, you know, how to do things, but it wasn't really, and what that thing was, but it wasn't telling me when I would be using that. Right. Well, it was told to me by my buddies that Code Academy is more for people that need to learn to code for the purposes of, like, say, an interview, you know, just kind of a quick coding. Well, that's not how I roll. I am a completionist. I like doing things the right way, so to speak. I like doing things from scratch. You know, I don't like taking the easy way. Shortcuts, rule breaking, all of those things are great after you know how to do it correctly. That, to me, is very important. As a teacher, I think it's really important to learn it the correct way, whatever that way is. You know, learn to do things from scratch, learn to do things kind of the hard way, and then you can learn all of the shortcuts and like I said, rule breaking. Like in art, for example, you know, we break rules all the time. You know, you're supposed to do it this way. Well, I might break a rule and not do it that way, which is fine. But if you don't know how to do it the correct way, you're not probably breaking the rule effectively, and it's going to end up ruining your piece. So I think something similar probably applies to programming. Last time you used Code Academy, it was very focused on web stuff. Well, it would make sense. I mean, here's the thing. Whether we like it or not, there's a lot of web out there. And probably a decent amount of employment opportunity, I would think, for web as well. So, you know, for somebody who's first learning to program and maybe doesn't know any better, I don't know if I want to put it that way, but that is the way it is. For someone who doesn't know any better, it might be very appealing to go into web programming because if you want to, yeah. Okay, I messed up there. I got so flustered by talking about web programming. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that I know better because I hang out with a bunch of programmers, but I might not have known, you know, before I started, you know, watching like John's streams and kind of getting into the culture of programming. I don't think I probably would have learned Java or something like that, you know. I think that there's some miseducation out there, especially for beginners. I think that, you know, after talking to my buddies, okay, then I'm going to stop for just a minute and try to get in here because I do have one more stitch. The problem is that it's very small and hard to see. So you just have to kind of force it sometimes. Okay. You just want to make sure that you're going in, that this last one, which was your chain stitch, you want to make sure that there's at least one stitch right above that. If not, what's going to happen is it's going to start to narrow, and you're going to start to get a smaller and smaller scarf as you go. So you just need to check that last stitch. You don't normally see it until like your second or third time of going back and forth because you have to get a couple of these chain stitches going. Okay, so chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. So, yeah, there's some miseducation about things like Java, for example. You know, there's kind of the idea for beginners or people that are interested and maybe don't know a lot about it that Java is easier. or that your first languages were Visual Basic, Java, and web stuff. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, and not to mention, this is what they're teaching in school, right? My understanding is at the universities, this is what they're teaching as programming. So I think that, I don't know. I don't know the right way to do it. I'm going based off of other people's opinions and not my own. So it's hard for me to say with any kind of definity. Definity? That's not a word. Definitiveness. I'm just making up language today. It's all about the language. Making up words. I'm the kind of person, I really like knowing knowledge firsthand, but sometimes you're not in a position to do that. Like, for example, if I look up some kind of scientific research on something, I'm not in a position to do all of the experiments myself, right? I mean, I don't have the wherewithal, first of all. I haven't taken the classes. I haven't, done the studies and the pulled together the metadata that's required for, doing such a study and so forth and so on. Not to mention I don't have a lab with all the equipment. So I can't do all of the research. I can't know all of the languages. I'm 42 years old and starting to learn programming. It's not exactly for the first time, I did program before when I was very young, but it's just something I don't know firsthand yet. So keep that in mind as you listen to me talk about, web and anything I say about any of these languages is all hearsay at this point. I don't actually know. My experience with language, with the programming languages, is very minimal. I was 12 the last time I seriously programmed. The last time I probably wrote any kind of programming, like any kind of code, would have been maybe around like 30 or 31. So, it was a while ago. I'm looking at it as starting fresh. Anyway, so here's the thing about moving. So I'm looking to move, so get back on that topic. And so I have changed my schedule to reflect Pacific time because I really need to start getting myself onto Pacific time. While I am here, I have some free time in between in between semesters. Now is the time for me to, get the weird sleep stuff out of the way. So in changing my schedule, 1, 2, 3, I'm also going to have to change the times of my classes. So starting tonight, actually, because tonight I'm going to be doing a mindfulness stream. Remember, skip the first one. I'm going to be doing a guided meditation. I have switched it to, it's going to be 12 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Pacific. So look forward to that starting tonight. For my art classes, this Friday, I'm going to start doing a 9 p.m. drawing class or 6 p.m. Pacific. And then my next painting and crochet classes, instead of being at 2 p.m., are actually going to be at, let's see, they're still going to be at 2 p.m., but they're going to be 2 p.m. Pacific. So, right, so it'll be 5 Eastern. So I'm just shifting everything around. My sleep schedule is going to get kind of wonky. My body's not going to like it because I like getting up early. I like getting up before the sun, or at least when the sun is just starting to rise. I am very much a morning person. I know not many people probably say that. Yep, so you're going to be, instead of an hour earlier, you're going to be 2 hours later. Yep, that's exactly right. I'm hoping that it works out for everybody. You know, I'm hoping that it's not too much of a problem for my viewers. We shall see. I think this schedule is going to work better, though, with some of the other things that I do during the week, because a lot of what I do involves people on the West Coast. And so it's hard for me to sync up with their schedules usually. And so this should be nice too. You know, that'll kind of help some of that out as well. My West Coast peeps. Although Crixano knows, Midwest represent. We love the Midwest. I love the Midwest. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking for you. Maybe I shouldn't be speaking for you. I don't know if you love it or not. But yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. And how... Oops. Okay, so I accidentally went through all three, so that would have been a half double crochet. But luckily, it didn't go completely through, so I was able to keep it out. All right, one more, and this is, so you see, if I were to leave this just like this, it looks like it probably could go, but it does look a little bit wonky. And if you notice, these should all line up. So I'm going to hold this closer so you can see. Each one should have another one right over it. So this one does, but this guy at the end doesn't here. So that's something to look for. So we're gonna yarn over. You don't know, there's not much in Sioux City, not that you go out much though, but you don't know if you could handle a more noisy city than Sioux City, which is already fairly small compared to the bigger cities. How small is Sioux City compared to something like Des Moines or Iowa City? All right, so we're gonna go in here. Des Moines, I'm very familiar with its size because I've got a lot of family there. 2, 3. I would imagine the rest of my family's in Chicago, and I would imagine that you definitely would not want to live in a place like Chicago. It's very busy, pretty dirty. The people there are pretty nice though, actually. It's still the Midwest, you know. It's still cool people. Now look at this. I haven't been going very long, and look how big this is compared to this, which took me almost the entire stream last time to do. It's amazing. Double crochet is amazing. You guys, you can get so much done. It's so fast. Skip the first one. It's smaller than Des Moines regarding population. Wait, is Sioux City in the east? Is that on the east side, I think? Oh, it's west. Okay. My bad. Oh, yeah, okay. I know where you guys are. I know where you guys are. I mean, not like my Iowa geography is like up to snuff or anything like that, but I at least should know a little bit since I have family there. A little bit. Just like I know like Chicago area a little bit, and I know some of Illinois. And even some of Wisconsin, because Chicago's right there at the very top. Oh, Alexa wants to tell me something. I know what she wants to tell me. She wants to tell me that my package is here because I somehow busted my cord for my laptop, which my laptop's not all that old. It's like maybe a little over 6 months old. Wait. Just kidding. I think it's a year old now. Anyway, whatever. It's not old enough to have the cord go out, but I think I'm not very careful with how I place my laptop. So anyway, I broke the cord. So I got a new one. And that's what I got today, which is great because I haven't been able to use my laptop because it won't charge. So this is a really fantastic notification. Des Moines is over double the population of Sioux City. Okay, well that gives me a good idea. I mean, Des Moines is not terribly huge compared to, you know, a place like Chicago, obviously, but it's a decent sized city, you know. It is the capital. Is Des Moines number 1 in size? All right. In population. Well, in population is what I meant. Okay, so last one, we're going to go here through this, the top of the chain stitch there, and I'm going to go ahead and end it. So we made this little, I don't know what it is, something. We're going to make it a cuff. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut this, but I'm going to give it enough length so that I can put the two of these together. All right, so we're going to take our smaller size, the 4, and we're going to pull through like we were going to do a chain stitch, but we're just going to pull it all the way through. So now we've got knots on both sides. Okay, this guy here, we're just going to leave. We are going to actually, let's see, inside out. Not that it terribly matters because the sides look pretty much the same. But we're going to put these together like this. So we're going to take this, we're going to do what's called a ladder stitch. So first I'm going to pull through the other side. I'm just going to pull that right on through. And that pulls them together. Then I'm going to bring my, I'm going to go through the next stitch down, but since I'm going down the side, I'm actually going into the middle of the chain stitch here. I'm going to go through the other side. Oops. And I'm going to pull this across the other side. This is where it's a ladder because it's going to ladder across like that. And so we'll have, you know, rungs going down. So you're going to pull this through. We're going to do it again. Pull this through. So we'll just keep going all the way down, always coming from the same side. That way we get our ladder. All right. So yeah, well, here's the exciting thing. I'm going to talk about Python again because I'm like uber excited about learning it. what's really cool is that once I start getting into little projects and stuff, I might actually start streaming my projects, like working on them. Not that it would be terribly interesting to anybody, but I think it will hold me accountable. For working, because I've set aside an hour each day to work on it, but so far both days I've completely missed my time. Now I still put in the time, I just did it later in the day, but I would like to keep to my schedule. So I think once I get into, like I said, once I get into projects where it's a little more interesting, because right now I'm just learning syntax and stuff, you know, kind of boring. I mean, it's not boring to me, but it would be boring to watch, I would imagine. It's very interesting to me. But yeah, so I might start doing that. I might start being a science and technology streamer, which is pretty crazy, you know, because I'm an artist. But my goal, I would like to do both. I would like to combine my love of art with programming. I think programming has the potential to be very elegant. I won't say that it is, but it has the potential to be, I think, because language has the potential to be elegant. So, you know, I think that I might be able to do cool things with it. So we'll see. I mean, even if I don't, maybe I can make something cool. Okay, so that one, for some reason, it didn't go through the holes. That's okay. As long as it went through a hole is fine. OpenCaddis.com. By the way, welcome. Oh, that is the website. Hold on. You told Schwa about a website, OpenCaddis.com, that has a bunch of problems to solve with programming. You just upload your program and it will test it with a bunch of different inputs. It supports different languages. Interesting. What did Schwa say about that? Was that during his stream? Might have been after I left. Or it could have been that I wasn't paying super close attention, because I was paying attention for a while, especially when he was doing the designing of the game levels. But, oh, it wasn't during a stream. Okay. Okay. I left his stream rather early last night. That's another thing, too. I mean, because, you know, he's West Coast. So, like, he streams, and I end up having to dip out early every time because it's past my bedtime. And I don't like that. Cool. Oh, yeah. If he said he'll check it out, he'll totally check it out. Schwa is such an awesome dude. I like him a lot. Okay, so I'm at the end here. So I've done my ladder stitch all the way down. So now I've got this on this side. So I want to get this over here to this side. So I'm going to come in to the corner here. And I'm going to pull this one through. So now I've got one coming from one side and one from the other side. I can go ahead and put that down temporarily. And I'm just going to tie these in a knot. So not too tight, because you don't want to, I'm going to do a double knot, double square knot. You don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want to pull the stitches close. There you go, like that. Okay, now what are we going to do with these? So you could do something decorative, like you could make like a little bow, you know, especially if these are going to be cuffs. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually weave them in. It's used for ACM's International Collegiate programming competition and has all the problems from previous competitions as well as other competitions. Very interesting. I didn't know there were programming competitions. I mean, I guess there's competitions for everything, so I really shouldn't be surprised. So now what I'm doing is I'm weaving in the ends. So I'm just going back and forth, probably about 4 or 5 times. I'm going to go one more. And then I'm going to go back the other way. And what this does is it kind of locks it into place because it fights against itself if you pull at it. It's only for college students. Well, yeah, I imagined that was the case. I mean, technically, I am a college student, just saying, but I wouldn't do that anyway. I don't see myself doing a programming competition of any kind. But there are others that anybody can do, I'm sure, and there's hackathons where you just make things like games or other projects. They're less about problems and more about projects. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. I mean, for me, I would say that my purpose for programming is mostly personal. I don't want to be a programmer per se. Like, this isn't my career choice. You know, I'm a teacher. But it would be cool if I learned programming well enough to do some teaching with it. You know, I don't think that a lot of the teaching that's out there is very good, from what I can tell. And I think that there's possibly a need for it. I think that there are some people out there that are really good at explaining high-level concepts. I actually am pretty decent at it myself, if I do say so myself. But detail isn't always everybody's friend, because detail is the part where it starts getting wonky and mistakes can happen or things can happen that make it not a pleasant experience. And it's where you start dealing with like students asking a lot of weird nitpicky questions. So not everybody's good at that, but I am, you know, I mean, I'm kind of a good all-around teacher, I think. So I would like to be able to do that someday. Okay, so I've gone back and forth on both sides. Now I can clip these. Now remember, I did this inside out. So we're going to flip this. And look, you can barely even see it. But now I've got a little cuff. What? And now I look so cool with my cuff. It's a little bit tighter here. This is the foundation chain. So interestingly, this should have been looser a little bit because of the fact that we use the size 6 millimeter, but it's not because, well, first of all, it's going to be less stretchy because you're not this isn't loops. It is, but they're just like loops inside of themselves, whereas this is actually like a loop that's been pulled through another loop. Hard to explain, but anyway, just know that your finished side is going to be stretchier than where you began. So the fact that we did this with a bigger size hook is actually good, or this wouldn't be stretched at all. It would not. It would basically look kind of like that. So that's why it's important to use that next size up until you get used to your tension. Once you get used to your tension, you can make this a lot looser at the top. Okay, well, I am done. And that is how you make a cuff. I could go ahead and make a matching cuff to go with it, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that. I am going to bid you farewell. Thank you so much for joining. Does anybody have any questions? Since I kind of went through that. If you have questions, please ask. Crixano, you've been the main person talking. And by the way, I might have you send me that opencaddis.com. I might have you send that to me in DM so that I can, because I have a bad tendency to like close this and forget about things. So, but anyway, well, if nobody has any questions, I just want to remind you that tonight I'm doing a mindfulness stream it will be 12 p.m. midnight Eastern or 9 p.m. Pacific. I've got my Discord channel here where you can actually upload your projects. You can take pictures and upload your projects here and we can talk about it. Or if you need help, like, hey, this keeps happening, what am I doing wrong? I can help you with that. And then that's pretty much it. My next art stream is this Friday. Like I said, it's going to be 6 p.m. Pacific, so it will be 9 p.m. Eastern. And I think maybe we're going to draw koi this week. I'm not entirely sure what our next project is, but I think it's koi. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much for joining me today, and have a wonderful week.